everyone, I'm Larissa Ness, Certified Integrative Health Practitioner, and today I wanted to talk about allergies and histamine issues, finding underlying root cause imbalances, how to rebalance the body and get relief in the long term. I'm also going to give you diet recommendations, supplements, other strategies looking into gut bacteria, talking about the gut connection, and a lot of other things. So first, let's dive right in. I want to make sure everybody understands some of the signs and symptoms of histamine issues. Obviously, there's nasal congestion, but there's a lot of other things like brain fog, itchy eyes, itchy skin, watery eyes, headaches, rosacea that comes and goes, a flushed face after drinking some wine, heartburn if you've been diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome, and then all of these histamine issues can lead to anxiety, panic attacks, low blood pressure, depression even, fainting, and can exacerbate PMS. I actually did a video talking about PMS more recently, so if you are a lady and you'd like to know more about that, you can check it out. First off, let's dive into gut health. So certain bacteria strains can cause histamine intolerance. So one of the most common ones we see is E. coli. Also, this is very common with UTIs. And just a little reminder, not all E. coli is bad. We actually need some in our gut. Some E. coli actually helps to manufacture B12. So it's all about balance. We also have some other strains here that I want to talk about. So, or species, we have Enterobacter, we have Staphylococcus, Proteus vulgaris, Klebsiella oxytoca, Klebsiella pneumoniae, and that's just a few. These are the ones that are driving up histamine and can add to your total body burden and start filling up that rain barrel where you maybe feel fine one day, but then after you've had cheese for lunch and then you go to dinner and you're at happy hour and you have some wine and some cured meats, all of a sudden you have a reaction. So that's a perfect example. Also very common I see with my clients that are struggling with allergies and histamine issues is mold and Candida overgrowth. So this is really actually quite easy to test for. You can run a urine sample lab. The lab that I run out of my practice is an at-home lab test called the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins Test, also known as an organic acids test. And the whole first page looks at gut health and gut markers. And then we have all kinds of other pages on the test results that come back, letting us know about your B vitamins, detoxification markers, vitamin C, CoQ10. It's really a nice comprehensive test to look at what's happening on a foundational level with your body. So not to get derailed, let's talk more about gut bacteria. So histamine degrading bacteria. That's what you want more of, and a lot of times we don't have enough of that when we have histamine and allergy issues. So those bacteria, those would be Bifidobacterium infantis, Lactobacillus gasseri, Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, just to name a few. And so I specialize in gut health. So I'm always first looking to the gut. How can we rebalance the body there first? And then we start replenishing nutrients and looking in other areas that need attention. And so when it comes to rebalancing the gut, we need to remove the bad guys or the overgrowth of even the commensal guys first before we start introducing new probiotics. So we're going to talk about diet and foods that you can that you might want to reduce or add in or what have you later. But first off, just know that adding in a probiotic when you're having all these histamine issues is a lot of times not a good idea and can make things worse, just like having foods that are high in natural probiotics, sauerkraut, yogurt, usually not a good idea, and it's going to exacerbate those symptoms and issues. So you want to address the underlying causes and the underlying imbalances first, and then you can start eating those foods again. So the DIO enzyme, diamine oxidase, is a major enzyme involved in histamine metabolism. So it's going to help to clear histamine, and it's produced in the small intestine. And people with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, tend to have more histamine issues because of that reason. So it's just foundational, hands down. You have to make sure, if you are struggling with allergies and histamine issues, that you have addressed your gut and any digestive imbalances. That's where you have to start, really. And then after that, we look at other things. So I'm going to talk about those now. Nutrient deficiencies. So you could be deficient in cofactors, and it's going to alter your DAO production. So cofactors for that would be B6, vitamin C, and copper. And I did a previous video talking all about B6 and the connection with ladies and having PMS issues and more histamine issues. So I would definitely go and check that out. I also have a blog on my website, larissaness.com. You can find more information there. And also, of course, all these lab tests, they're at-home lab tests you can order online easily. And they come with a consultation that you go over your results virtually with me, and a whole personalized wellness plan of diet and supplement recommendations to help you get better. And that's all on my website, larissaness.com. But those are really, really important cofactors that we see a lot of people are deficient in. And you can also, if you're not sure as far as your copper to zinc imbalance, I know a lot of people are aware that copper and zinc are partner minerals, and if you take too much zinc, you can drive down copper. You take too much copper, you can drive down zinc, and vice versa. So it's really, really helpful to test, because I see a lot of people out there that are just taking zinc long term, and they're not even considering their copper. So that could be an issue. That could be one of your underlying root causes. And I'm just going to say real quick, there's never just one thing. There's not going to be a miracle pill or miracle nutrient that's just going to make everything completely rebalance the body. There might be some things that really help, especially short term symptomatically, but you really need to look in multiple areas and realize that the body is like a symphony, and we have all of these different parts of the orchestra, and they all have to work together. They have to play in the same key, same time signature, the same song. Otherwise, things aren't going to go so well. So that's why we have to make sure we've optimized all these different areas of the body, and make sure all the vitamins and minerals are optimized together and working synergistically together. Other nutrients would be zinc, magnesium, and a lot of times I see low calcium, especially people that are really, really fatigued. And they've been dealing with these histamine issues for a long time. A lot of times I'll test people's omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, and I will see that they actually need a omega-3 support supplement that has a higher ratio of EPA to DHA. So that's something else to consider, because omega-3s are really, really important for inflammation. Also vitamin D. If you haven't checked your vitamin D, absolutely, hands down, you have to do that. That is involved in over 1,000 genes in the body. Vitamin D is so, so, so important. It also has, I think the stat is like 50% or more, it can reduce your risk of complications with the C virus. So you can look up previous videos I've done on it, and I mean, it's everywhere, but vitamin D is amazing. So you really need to make sure you've already looked at your vitamin D. It should be between about 50 and 80 nanograms per milliliter. And I will tell you, if you just get your vitamin D checked with your conventional doctor, they're not looking for the optimal range from a functional medicine perspective. They're just looking for a disease state on pretty much across the board when you go in for your typical annual blood work. So you really want to make sure you find out what your number is, and check it yourself. You want it to be between about 50 and 80. That's where the literature shows there's a reduction in so many different illnesses and cancers and everything. So really, really important. Check that vitamin D. And yeah, so then my highest recommendation is test. If you can't get these tested with your current practitioner, I suggest working with an integrative health practitioner like myself. I'm an IHP. I do everything virtually, so that's really, really helpful. You know, if you want to do everything from home, you can do these at-home lab tests, super simple. Some of them use a sample of hair, which can actually detect some of these metabolic imbalances before they manifest symptomatically, or even, you know, before they become so severe that they do show up on your blood work. So it's really, if you have that more of that preventative mindset, this is definitely the way to go. So yeah, let's get into some of these other things, other areas before we dive into what you can do diet-wise and supplement-wise. The other areas you want to look at are blood sugar. So blood sugar dysregulation, you know, may be caused because you're eating lots of processed foods, cortisol issues. If you just overall, your cortisol levels are just really low or really high. This is something usually that's checked with a more, you know, functional medicine, naturopathic practitioner. Balancing hormones, making sure to optimize, once again, from a functional medicine perspective, because a lot of times I see a lot of my clients, it's overlooked on their standard, you know, blood work that they've done. And so when I test them, a lot of times I'll see, especially for ladies, that they have higher estrogen or lower progesterone relative to estrogen, also known as estrogen dominance. And estrogen increases histamine, ladies. So you really want to make sure you optimized that ratio. I also talk about that in some of my other videos and on my blog at larissaness.com, which you can check out. But there is one test that can look at all of those things, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. We do it with a saliva sample for the cortisol, and then just a finger poke if you're going to do the thyroid. But the stress, mood, and metabolism test is what I'll do when I'm trying to look at all those things. Insulin, hemoglobin A1C, we'll even look at your vitamin D, the whole gamut. So yeah, let's get into where can you start? Where can you start getting relief while you're addressing these underlying root causes, right? So a great place to start is by supporting liver detoxification. Your liver is overwhelmed if you're dealing with histamine issues. So I recommend in my private practice doing a functional medicine detox about every 3 to 4 months, just to kind of keep up. We are bombarded by over 100,000 man-made chemicals in our environment every day. The World Health Organization just upped it. It was 77,000-ish plus, and so now it's 100,000 plus that they're admitting to and finding. So we're every day, we, you know, our chemicals that we're using in our homes, there's off-gassing from furniture, makeup, body products. So you want to try to start cleaning up your home. You know, the whole word clean. For sure. But then also you really need to support your liver with more phase 1 and phase 2 nutrients, because yes, we are detoxifying every day, but a lot of times we're deficient in these really, really important nutrients needed for that. So I suggest starting with a 7, 14, or 21 day functional medicine detox as a great place to start. If, you know, 21 days is a little intimidating, just do a 7. That's a great place. And then also other things you can do up front, and this is initially and should only be short term, is reducing high histamine foods, because there is a huge list of high histamine foods. So you can't be limiting yourself from all these foods forever. I work with a lot of people with digestive issues, and sometimes they come to me and they're eating like 6 foods. And that is number one. Maybe we have to reduce our food selection initially while we're rebalancing their digestive system, but we have to get them eating more foods later on, because it's really, really important for your health in the long run to get back to eating more foods. And we got to get rid of that food fear. Food fear. So reducing those high histamine foods, the easiest way to remember it is anything that's aged, cured, smoked, or fermented. So aged, think cheese, right? Cured and smoked, think meats. So we have processed meats, barbecue, that charcuterie board, like I said, that fills up your rain barrel really, really quickly. So in fermented foods, so if you're drinking kombucha every day because you think it's really, really healthy, well, that could be driving up your histamine issues. So you need to back off on all of that for right now. Let's see. And just if you're totally overwhelmed, just get rid of the dairy. So many people get so much relief just by eliminating the dairy on first. So let's see. And just keep in mind too, leftovers. The longer you keep food in the fridge, the more of an issue that's going to become. So let's see, avoid DAO blockers and histamine liberators. So we were talking about the DAO enzyme earlier. So it helps us clear histamine, right? So alcohol, tea, even healthy foods. We have bananas, citrus fruits, strawberries, chocolate, yeast products, food additives, and processed food. These are all going to prevent you from feeling good. Feeling good and having these histamine issues, resolving the histamine issues. So I also recommend when people are really, really suffering, running a food sensitivity test, because sometimes there's some healthy foods that people are eating and they don't even realize that they can be causing some issues and inflammation issues, like even almonds and avocados. And so this helps us kind of dial in our diet and personalize our diet for a few weeks initially while we're working on all of these other underlying root causes and start rebalancing them. And then, I just wanted to wrap things up. If you're just joining, thank you so much. It's so good to see you. We're talking about allergies and histamine issues, all of the areas you want to look into. We already talked about gut bacteria, how important that is, and how that can affect your DAO enzyme production, which clears histamine. But I wanted to wrap it up with supplements that you can do short term to help get you some relief while you're working on all of these issues. So vitamin C, hands down. Vitamin C is like the all-star, honestly, when it comes to almost anything. And that's because it recycles other antioxidants. It's very, very powerful. The only downside, if there is a downside, is that certain forms can give you watery bowel movements if you take too much at once. So you just have to be aware of that. I usually recommend starting with a buffered form, about 2 to 3 grams of an alkalizing of vitamin C. By the way, if you do have any questions, you want some brand recommendations and whatnot, feel free to DM me. But I do post a lot of these links on my website, on my blog, larissaness.com. So taking vitamin C, if you need to take higher doses of it, I like to keep a liposomal vitamin C in my medicine cabinet, because then I know I can take a lot if I need it at the first sign of feeling sick. And then, I haven't been sick in years. To be honest with you. That is like the number one top thing if you're going to keep something in your medicine cabinet, to kind of as a more of like a preventative thing. So vitamin C, I would suggest, about 4 to 6 grams a day. But you can go higher if, you're using liposomal. Split your doses up throughout the day if you are not using liposomal, for sure, because like I said, if you take too much at once, you can have issues. Other supplements you can take. Quercetin is really, really great. It helps zinc actually get into your cells. Quercetin is being used right now by a lot of people to help with recovery from the C virus. So quercetin is super, super awesome for so many things. You can look up all the benefits, but I usually recommend about 400 to 500 milligrams 2 to 3 times a day. And then NAC, 50 milligrams, 3 times a day is a good place to start. But you can go up, even with the C virus. They're recommending, and actually what I've recommended to my clients that had it was about 600 milligrams 3 times a day. And it's really, really good for respiratory issues. Just be aware, if you're taking NAC for long periods of time, it can dry out mucous membranes. And so you can get, drier eyes and that kind of of thing. So just be aware whenever you're taking supplements, they're powerful. So you want to make sure you find a dose that's right for you, and you can actually test your detoxification markers and see if you even need something like NAC. If you need glutathione, you can run a simple at-home urine sample test through my website, larissaness.com, and you get all your results online virtually, and then I give you a whole personalized wellness plan of exactly what you need specifically for you. So people are commenting, so I just wanted to stop for a moment and say hello. I see Anna, she says, I just bought kimchi to go with my kombucha. So not so good if you have allergy issues. I'm sorry. Oh man. So some of the other supplements are bromelain and stinging nettles. And I actually have what I recommend for my private clients when they're first starting, we're working on all these underlying root causes, is a formula that's an allergy protocol, and it actually has all of these things in it. So you don't have to source all of them from different places, but you can. And also there's one additional thing where we've been talking about the DAO enzyme, diamine oxidase, right? That helps clear histamine. So you can actually take that enzyme. It's kind of hard to get, but if you get it from a really, really good quality functional medicine, company or brand, I have an online dispensary account because I'm a practitioner. And so if you'd like to get access and see what some of my recommendations are, some of these really high quality brands, shoot me a DM, and then I can just send you a recommendation for that DAO enzyme or some of those, I totally don't mind doing that. But I also have, like I said, I have linked to all this stuff on my website and on my blog, larissaness.com. You can check it out. Yeah, so I'm just going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And by the way, I have 2 different options on my website. If you want to find out what your nutrient deficiencies are, what some of your gut markers are, what's happening in your gut, I should say. What's happening in your gut? Is it causing your allergies? Is it causing your histamine issues, your headaches, your migraines, your rosacea, flush face, itchy eyes, all this stuff? You can do these simple at-home lab tests, get a protocol from me, talk to me one-on-one over Zoom, virtually, and we can get to the bottom of it. And it's all included in the cost of the lab test. Or I have some clients that have been dealing with, these types of issues for a long time, and they feel like they need one-on-one support. And so you can consider joining the my private practice as well. And so I have all that stuff listed on my website, but please feel free to check out my website, look at the labs, check out the blogs. I have more information up there. Check out my previous videos and posts. And yeah, it's all at larissaness.com.